Hey there, Solemn Salmon here, bringing you yet another video on Stellaris 2.0. On Apocalypse release day, I put out a video in which I mentioned I'd be putting together some tutorial videos and asked if there were any in particular you wanted to see. Peter Knudsen commented, "I'd like to see a tutorial on the Fleet Manager. I've played since 1.0 and read all the dev diaries etc, but there are a few things that confuse me with the Fleet Manager." Well Peter, trust me, you're far from the only one confused by the Fleet Manager. The Fleet Manager was introduced in 2.0 to reduce the inevitable micromanagement that comes with commanding an entire space navy. Particularly in the late game, ensuring your fleets were of a desirable composition and at full strength could be a total faff. I had one game where, due to the scope of my enemy, I split my entire fleet into 3 during wars, and restoring them to full strength post-combat was a nightmare. Let's kick off this overview by taking a look at the manager we have in game now, check out how it works, and then roll back around to some of the problems it currently has. You can essentially divide the manager into 3 sections. On the left, we've got the fleet display, which shows important information about the fleet template you're currently working on, including its leader, firepower, and defensive status. In the center, we have the real meat of the manager, where your naval capacity is shown, with information on how many ships your entire navy lacks to be at full strength, where you can see all of your fleet templates, and where you can see detailed information on the composition of a selected template. Finally, on the right hand side, we've got a pop-out display, which changes based on your current activity, defaulting to the fleet template's build queue. So far so good. It may seem like a lot of information when you first pop open the Fleet Manager, but once you know where everything is and what it does, it's relatively straightforward. The real issue is designing and managing your fleets through the manager, and this is where we reach the first source of confusion. The manager consistently refers to fleet templates, and you can be forgiven for assuming this refers to the creation of abstract designs for your fleets, i.e. default templates you can put together picking combinations of ships and then later build or apply to existing fleets. Instead, when the manager refers to a template, it is in fact referring to a single specific fleet. For example, when you start a new game, you begin with a single template available, your default fleet of 3 corvettes. Designing a brand new fleet is the same as creating a new template. Click Create New and you'll be presented with your new template. Assign it a home base. If you're still in the early game, this will be your home system station, and then select Add Ship Design to Fleet. Rather than clicking the desired design multiple times to increase the number of ships, you can add and subtract in the center section. And once you're ready, hit Reinforce Fleet to begin building at the nearest shipyards. You can't copy your templates and build them a second time. Instead, you'll need to create yet another template and manually select the same composition. If your fleet loses some of its ships in combat, you can hit the Reinforce Fleet button to automatically begin building new ships to replace them. The ships will be built at the nearest shipyards, with your home base receiving higher priority. If your fleet contains ships that have lost some of their armor or hull points, the Repair Fleet option will become available, returning your fleet to a starbase for repairs, with the home base again receiving priority. Finally, if you have researched some new technology and your fleet contains outdated ships, the Upgrade Fleet option becomes available, returning the fleet for upgrades. Creating a fleet with multiple versions of the same class is done in pretty much the same way. Let's create a fleet containing 1 battleship, 2 cruisers, 2 picket destroyers, 3 torpedo boats, and 3 interceptor corvettes. You'll first need to create these in the ship designer, and then begin putting together your fleet as before. New template, home base, add ship design to fleet. Now click on each of the designs you'll need. As you can see, the list contains every design in your list. Once you've selected them, add the desired number and hit Reinforce to begin building. If you're trying to alter an existing composition, you may need to remove a certain number of ships and manually change their design before the template will correctly conform, so it's easier to build multiple design fleets from scratch. At this point, we should talk about 2 issues with the Fleet Manager. Firstly, let's talk about the Delete Template option. Rather than simply deleting the composition template your fleet conforms to, deleting the template will in fact delete the actual fleet itself, so be very careful when selecting this option. Even with the handy warning the game presents, it can be very easy to catastrophically ruin your navy if you're unfamiliar with the ramifications of this choice. Do you know what I just did?
What?
Do you know what I just did?
Deleted your fleet?
I deleted my fleet. Secondly, and more complicatedly, the Fleet Manager can be a little funny when it comes to ship classes. Essentially, when you select the particular composition of your fleet, the template remembers the exact ship you chose and then expects exactly that ship to be present. If you're using automatically generated designs or have auto upgrade selected, the Fleet Manager will automatically update your templates with the new versions of your ships and stop recognizing the old versions even if they're still in your fleet. This can result in situations where your fleets indicate, for example, that you have 2 of 0 cruisers in your fleet. Whilst clicking the Reinforce button will begin the production of 2 new cruisers to replace them. Usually, this issue can be resolved by upgrading your ships so that they match the new design and are therefore recognized by the Fleet Manager. If the ships are automatically generated though, sometimes the ship designer will swap out entire components, radically changing the designs of your ships. In these situations, the Fleet Manager may still not recognize ships after an upgrade, and reinforcing can result in almost an entirely new fleet being constructed. In the late game, when you're more likely to have manually designed multiple classes of ship, this becomes less of an issue, as the ship designer won't be altering classes as radically behind the scenes. So the new Fleet Manager certainly has the hallmarks of a useful tool for players. Right now it can be a little fiddly and annoying, but hopefully future patches will see refinement and improvement. Anyhow, I hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see a video on, and like and subscribe for more from me, Solemn Salmon. Until next time.